Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description. Check it out.
Free agency bonanza, John, and the Patriots tired of sucking. How about this? Adam Schefter tweeted. In less than 24 hours, the Patriots guaranteed over $137.5 million. It's the second most guaranteed money ever handed out in a free agency signing period in NFL history, and that's before free agency actually begins. The most ever spent in free agency was, in fact, the Dolphins last year. They spent $147.2 million. Second most, the 2019 Jets spent $131.4 guaranteed. Of the top 5 teams in guaranteed dollars, 2 of them are the Jets. 3 of them missed the playoffs. None of them won a playoff game. But this is Belichick.
You know what all 3 of them have in common when I hear those 3 teams? Ridiculously rich owners.
Yeah. The other two, the Giants and the Bears, actually, the Bears don't quite fit that profile, but you're right.
The Bears, actually, from what I've just known people there, have been historically kind of cheap. They don't spend that much money, like, on their hit or miss. But the franchise makes a ton. So whenever they want, like, they can go get a Julius Peppers. They can go pay big money.
Also, that year, 2018, was that the Khalil Mack signing?
Yeah, gave him $90 million. So, one player accounted for a large percentage of it. I think this is twofold. One, I really think it speaks to the Kraft's enormous riches. And what this is where Belichick and Brady, whatever you paid them the last decade, wasn't enough. Obviously with Brady it wasn't, but Belichick's underpaid. Can you imagine the money they made? They made the playoffs every year, and a lot of those times they hosted AFC championship games. Meant they hosted multiple playoff games. The cash they raked in. And then all the Super Bowl bursts. Win or lose. Like, ask Jed York. Losing a Super Bowl sucks, but it doesn't totally suck when it comes financial, right?
Especially if you're the top seed playing home games.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And the Patriots typically were the top seed playing home games. I think a couple off the top of my head, the Bronco game they lost and the Chiefs game they lost. But they were still making large runs and cashing huge checks. The other thing is just that this team needed a talent influx. But you just said you opened up this by saying they were tired of sucking. What do you like? What did the Niners and Raiders think? Tired of sucking? You guys went 7-9.
It's all relative. It's all relative.
That was a suck fest for Belichick, and he's tired of it. He's over it. He's getting players back. And I talked to a buddy, a pro scout today on the phone, and he's like, I like everything the Patriots did. You notice they didn't sign like big ego stars. Like, they're not signing like all pro guys. They're guaranteed money added up because they signed so many of them.
Yep,
they weren't given like $70 million.
They changed their team. Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, Jonnu. Is it Jonnu? Is that how you say it?
Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith. Love the spelling. Matt Judon.
They get Hightower back, right? And
they got all their COVID returns. That's right.
So they trade for Trent Brown, who I think makes $9 or $10 million, which I would imagine is part of that because they guaranteed his salary at like $9 or $10 million. They won a Super Bowl with him at left tackle.
When I see them doing all of this stuff, this to me is not the team you build around Cam Newton. There is another quarterback move. There's a quarterback move in them. And
is there though? You get 2 tight ends.
I don't think
Cam.
Look, I thought Cam would be back on the Patriots. I think Cam could be better this year than he was last year with the Patriots. But I also think you do all of this stuff to what? Win a first-round playoff game? You're trying to win a Super Bowl?
Well, but when you say win a Super Bowl, you do have to have one of the elite signal callers to win a Super Bowl. So unless they had, I think they'd be hard-pressed with any of their options to win a Super Bowl. If I tell you they got Jimmy Garoppolo, you think they're just a Super Bowl team?
No, I don't think they're an automatic Super Bowl team. But how much did Cam Newton ultimately? How much did they spend on their quarterback?
Well, $5 million.
Yeah, I just how many teams who really are trying to win a $5 million quarterback?
But they're kind of stuck. Like
I just think they're going to do something else at quarterback. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I've been saying forever they're going to get Jimmy Garoppolo, and until it happens, maybe I'm wrong. If the Niners don't move on, if Jimmy Garoppolo's not on the Niners, he's going to be on the Patriots. And then I actually look at the Patriots like. One thing I saw this narrative on social media is like, what are the Patriots doing this for? They're the 3rd best team in their division. The Miami Dolphins won 10 games last year. And I feel like, more Miami Dolphins game in 2020 than I had in 5 years. They won a lot of those 10 games with Fitzmagic. The other guy that is now their starting quarterback, because Ryan Fitzpatrick is with Washington, was not good. You know who Bill Belichick would send a town car to make sure he was in the starting lineup and fucking running out the tunnel? Would be Tua. Do you know who he probably didn't want to see, or Kyle didn't want to see, or Gruden didn't want to see? Fitzmagic. Because whenever that guy came into the game or started a game, he was playing awesome. Like, that's the Dolphins. To me, the Bills, right before we started this podcast, they might trade for Zach Ertz. They got Emmanuel Sanders. The Bills are good. The Bills are probably a 12. I got to add the new math. 13 and 4. Like, they're a 13 and 4 type team. They're good. To me, the Bills have a chance to compete with the Chiefs for the best record in the AFC. If you told me the Bills are the number 1 overall seed, especially when fans come back, I can believe it. The Chiefs probably be pretty good too, but I think the Bills could win a ton of games. How are the Miami Dolphins, like, for sure better than the Patriots with Tua? Tua might be good. I try to do this a lot in my head. Like, I'm not going to totally shit on the guy coming off. Mel Kiper had a good point. Coming off a major injury.
We all thought he was redshirted is what Mel Kiper was on the podcast, told us that.
But we do have to come to grips with the chance that he's not as good as the hype thought pre-injury, right? And he definitely not. Ryan Fitzpatrick was really good for him last year. We watched their team. It's like, well, it's not like they got Jason Taylor, or it's not like they got, these star players, right, of yesteryear. They don't have Ricky Williams at running back. Like, they didn't have that many blue chip guys. They were just beside a couple corners. They were well coached. They were tough. They played well on special teams. I remember watching them one game, and they had like multiple special teams and defensive touchdowns. I remember doing a podcast after a game where they had like 3 non-offensive touchdowns. And that's just how they.
I had them in fantasy that week.
Yeah, it was against the. I can't remember who it was against, but it was impressive. Like a punt return and a block punt. Like, they do that stuff, which I think their coach is good. I would imagine most analytic guys tell you that stuff doesn't really translate year to year. Right, they won a lot of weird games last year.
I think that's a good point. I think that's probably the same way people talk about, relievers who only pitch, 45 innings or something like that, 60 innings over the course of a year.
A guy with a 3-point shooting percentage of 60% who shot 33s all season. Right. It's just, we'll see. But to me, their biggest question mark is like their quarterback might not be good. Like, I saw Cam not very good, and they won 7 games, and we think he's going to be healthier this year. No corona. Much added talent. If you had to bet right now, how would you not bet on the Patriots to be better than the Dolphins? I think Belichick feels pretty good about his playoff chances. He beat the Raiders this year with the Cam Newton. Like, he already thinks, like, I can, get me against Baker Mayfield. I'll handle my own. Like, Roethlisberger's kind of falling apart. Why can't I be a 6-7, seed?
Mm-hmm.
Just get me in the dance. You think people want to coach against me?
No, I
It'll be
think
hard
they'll
for them
be back.
to win the division. It'll be hard for them to win the division. They won't.
But I think they'll be back in the playoffs.
Which is, I think, pretty impressive. Now, you pay all this money, you better be in the playoffs. But.
I mean, look, right now they're plus 400 to win their division. Bills minus 175, Dolphins plus 280. I'm just at mybookie.ag. I'm just trying to find
I feel like the Bills are like the Chiefs when the Chiefs finally got Mahomes. Like, their team was already set up. Like, unlike Josh Allen was already there, but it took them a couple years to really figure it out. If they get Ertz, Emmanuel Sanders, Diggs, little running back they got, their defense, they re-signed the linebacker. McDermott's just good. Is it crazy to think the Bills are like a 14-win team? If Josh Allen needs to maintain. They didn't lose a coach, right? Daboll's back. I think the Bills could be a powerhouse next year. The fans going. Think about their fans. That place is going to be bananas.
Plus 1,400. I'm agree. I'm just trying to find a MyBookie Patriots bet, but there's not. There's just win the divisions, win the conferences right now. So
yeah, I probably couldn't bet them to win the division.
Unless
you told me they trade for Jimmy, and then I'm like, maybe with the 2 quarterbacks they could be competitive.
Look, this building.
He's going to be on a mission.
This build being aggressive in free agency means he's going to be aggressive in the draft too.
But he's got good picks, right? It's not like, well, he's got to come up from 28. Like, no, he's at 15. I've seen teams come from way farther away to get high.
Yeah.
It's the first year, and this is what happens when you go to the AFC Championship Super Bowl every year. I keep thinking, when I keep saying the Raiders, like I always say like 15, because that's usually where they are. When I think the Patriots, like I never think 15. I always think, oh, they're like 26.
Right.
They're 15th, guy. What if Bill drafts a couple good players? What if he's able to get Jimmy and Cam, and just has like 2 or 3 good, just like Deebo Samuel types, right? Just some impact players. Like, damn.
So Bill just drafted a receiver?
No, I just tried to think of like a solid like Josh Jacobs. I don't know. You just throw out like a guy.
Maybe another tight end.
Solid.
Why not?
Someone I got to look at their draft. I guess they drafted a bunch of tight ends last year. Obviously, they're not any good. The one thing you will say for Belichick, he's the best at it, I think, in all of sports. No one pivots faster once he thinks you're not good, right? Like, I think those two signing Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar, what's this? Like, yeah, Nelson, I missed on Harry, whatever, I'm out.
It's also easier. He can pivot because he doesn't hand out contracts. He doesn't overcommit.
But I even think with his draft picks, he doesn't hold on.
Well, that's
if you're
true
a bust
too.
at first round, he'll just
But again, he's not drafting guys third overall. It's easier to pivot when you're just basically like, we're drafting here. Let's try this guy out.
Yeah, I knew I couldn't get N'Keal the second round pick, so I took him there. I didn't even love him that much. Whatever.
Nike liked him. I didn't even really like him that much. The dog.